Hello, everyone. We're here with episode 15 and our first episode with a guest. Our guest here, would you like to introduce yourself, lovely guest?
Sure. My name is Gabriela Garza-Vazquez, and I go by Gabby, and my pronouns are she, they, and Joaquin is my older brother.
Hey,
and
what's up?
I've known these guys almost as long as my brother has. He's been really good friends with them for a super long time. So as a kid, I definitely have a lot of memories. So
Yeah, we're excited to have you and your perspective. You're such a lovely, intelligent, and very fun person, and so we're excited to get in it with you. And why not bring it over to the bro over here and what's going on in the world of entertainment?
So on Netflix, there's an original documentary about scammers in cryptocurrency.
Wait, there's scammers in crypto?
No, there are.
Yes.
No, I thought it was the last great hope, I thought.
Yeah, it's not a well-regulated machine? Well.
Yeah, this documentary is called Trust No One, The Hunt for the Crypto King.
Wow.
And it's basically about someone that possibly faked their own death.
Sounds like an epic anime, honestly.
Hunt for the Crypto King.
It's pretty epic.
Man, so they faked their own death, and do you know the reason?
Basically, or allegedly, to steal people's passwords and their accounts with millions of dollars worth of crypto in them.
Wow.
Oh my gosh.
Wow.
Yeah.
So it must have been, and how recent was this occurrence? Do you know?
I think this was 2018 when this happened.
Oh, wow. So yeah, not too long. I mean, yeah, crypto's so fresh, so new, you know, it really is a wild, wild west out there. So
yeah,
sucks to hear, but I guess, you know what, it's good to know that it can happen. And I think it's just a reminder, right? Awareness and knowing what you're doing as best as you can, always a good thing. Right.
And treat every investment like you can lose it.
Yeah. Hey, well, speaking of knowing what they're doing, apparently Patterson's been doing great, right, with Batman and
Patterson? Isn't it Pattinson?
Pattinson? I don't know.
Gonna patent that.
Well, you know what?
yeah, like
I don't know. I don't know, but you know what?
Just
Someone's got to know. So,
I mean,
Crane, do you know? I don't know.
I mean, I really liked it. I didn't like him before this movie, and then after I saw it, I was like, because he always played characters that I just either really couldn't identify with, or I was like, man, this guy's just an ass.
Right.
But
The hallmark of a pretty decent actor, though.
Right. But he does a good job as Batman, especially in the Batman scenes. I'll say, he really hits it home as.
You mean
Batman.
as opposed to the Bruce Wayne?
Yeah, Bruce Wayne, he's all right.
Okay, interesting. Okay, yeah. Yeah, I mean, that is always a very interesting dynamic to witness, right? For all the people who have been Batman, just how do they do the dual personalities, right? Like Superman and Clark. Right?
I really liked it. I liked the Jim Gordon character. He's a really good actor. He's in Westworld on HBO.
Nice.
I like that show too. And then
HBO killing it apparently because that's where they also have Batman, right? So.
Batman and Winning Time.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. I saw an episode of Winning Time. It's pretty entertaining.
What's that one about?
So it's about the Lakers rise. It's their first year to where they actually started to be good.
Late 70s, early 80s.
Yeah.
The Showtime era
cool.
Lakers. Is
Oh,
what they,
nice.
Yeah,
Kareem
with,
Abdul-Jabbar, Magic Johnson.
Some bangers.
My roommate was watching that the other day. I think I
So
caught a
good.
little bit of it.
Yeah,
It was really
Michael Cooper.
interesting.
My mom actually went to high school with Michael Cooper, so
Nice.
and he's in the shows.
Dang.
I mean, not the real Michael Cooper, but the guy
the,
who plays
the actor,
the player,
so
the actor.
the person portraying them.
I didn't
Person
realize
portraying
that Devon Nixon is Norm Nixon's
Oh
son.
yeah, it's his son.
I didn't realize
it's
he's
his
playing
son,
his dad.
and it's funny
Storm and
because
Norman, man.
his son's on the show, but Norm Nixon was like, I don't like the show. I never wore a fur coat, man. I don't
Right. I mean, there's some embellishment, like
Yeah,
all
yeah.
good shows that are historically based. It
I heard,
embellishes a
Like,
little
that's
bit
not
of it, but-
me.
think about it.
How dare you?
Yeah.
This is not a true
Defamation.
depiction.
Slander.
Jerry West is suing for defamation.
Oh, yeah. he
Really?
is.
Ooh,
Yeah.
Wow.
They
damn.
made him look kind of
They
bad.
made him look bad, but
He
yeah.
makes, they make him look like every asshole coach, you know?
No, but
And-
they make him look like an alcoholic, and he has mental health issues. So
Sure,
the
I
thing
get
about
that.
so it's
Jason
They're,
Clarke does a great
ostracizing
job
him a
playing
little
his
bit
part,
and
though.
kind
he
of
does play it very well.
Almost portraying
Maybe
his maybe the mental challenges as he was an alcoholic. That's why. Kind of
Yeah.
thing? Yeah.
Yeah.
Or just brushing him off as because you have these problems, you're a bad person. And
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
that sucks, when you're
Yeah.
Yeah.
out there
Dehumanizing.
and
Right,
yeah,
and most people
exactly,
in
feeling
in the
dehumanized.
spotlight
but,
did not deal with that stuff. So it's
yeah.
Yeah, it's
it
a
makes
tough
it a little
thing.
bit more universal. I mean, what's interesting, I was reading an article and they talked about how they replicated the Kodachrome and the Ektachrome style in that show. They like deliberately underexposed for grainy effect, and they use like 8mm and 35mm to shoot a lot of the footage, so it looks like it's
grainy.
Oh yeah, they have some like some of the flashbacks like in the beginning of the like the just like what is it opening thing, like they show like George Gervin playing, but it's not really George Gervin. It's like shot like how you're saying.
Yeah,
it's pretty cool like how they did that. And yeah, I really like it, like coming from basketball, but like I think it really like humanizes people like Magic and Kareem, and because like you see them as like a bit larger than life, and then you see like, oh no, they're just like regular people. Like at the end
Pat
of the
Riley.
day. Pat Riley. Oh, Adrian Brody does a great job as Pat Riley, and Jason Segel's in it.
Yeah,
Nice.
yeah. So another thing on HBO that is blowing everybody's minds apparently because it's in the top 2 streamed series right now at the moment is Our Flag Means Death, which is...
Don't know about this one.
Pirates?
Yeah, it's a pirate parody. It's loosely based on actual events. There was a guy by the name of Stede Bonnet who was like referred to as the gentleman pirate. And he was like...
pirate?
Yeah, he was known for like...
The Dread Pirate Roberts?
He was like an aristocrat. He's come for your soul. He was like an aristocrat. An aristocrat. And he basically decided one day to become a pirate, and he like paid a bunch of people to go out on a ship and actually had run-ins with like Blackbeard and stuff like that. And like, so the show kind of takes that and it makes like a pirate parody series of it. It's cool.
Nice.
Interesting.
It's really, really well done.
Trippy.
Yeah. I mean, pirates are always a fun, I don't know, fun realm, maybe perhaps even a trope, right? But I mean, getting to learn, I guess. So is it informative at all? I mean, that it's based on.
It's very close to.
But they do well at
they,
pretty much, because like when something's based on true events, the spectrum of what is passable in terms of the reality of what happened is so broad, right?
Sure, right.
So,
yeah,
it's nice to know that there's a lot of
liberties.
accuracy to it.
Yeah.
Something that's pretty accurate on pirates is Netflix's Pirate Kingdom.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it has like all the historical figures, and it kind of talks about how the pirates kind of created the first democracy like within themselves in the Caribbean.
Oh, that's crazy.
Yeah.
I remember you telling me about that a little bit, Joaquin.
Yeah, it's super trippy. Like they're hunted down by the British and other governments. Yeah, I recommend it. Although Netflix might be making some changes soon since they've lost so many viewers.
Yeah, that's been crazy. I mean,
well, it's because they keep upcharging.
They keep upcharging. They're missing out on a lot of of the repertoire. Not a lot, but a lot of the repertoire, right? I mean, noticeable amounts are leaving and going to other exclusive streaming subscription
there's more
services.
options now.
Yeah, man. The market is just so saturated from when Netflix first did it, and in a way they've been doing it so long. Hey, well, they're the ones that have the most to, I guess, change or re-innovate, I guess, reimagine. Because now everyone's like, hey, thanks Netflix. Now you have the model. They're doing it too. They have their own licensing and right relationship with different production and whatever, right? Rights to these shows. That's crazy. Yeah. Sucks for us. More money.
It bums me out when they're like gonna have like a show or episode where it's like last day to watch, August 10th or something. It's
like that's not true.
This isn't like that storage bank or like the cloud where it's just all of them. We know the movies are there. Once they're there, why take them away? Like
all those good Marvel shows got taken off Netflix.
Yeah, now they're at least
on
it's
Disney
cool
Plus.
that like at least they're on Disney. Yeah, they are on Disney
they
Plus.
Are, right?
What's cool about that though is that they haven't like bought it and like not shared the shows, like you could be a company and take the rights and then go, okay, we're not going to share it with anybody. Now we're going to sell it, or whatever.
Right.
So speaking of Disney Plus, Moonknight, which is the other top stream show.
Yeah. How is it?
Behind Our Flag Means Death. It's the second most in-demand streaming series. It's fantastic.
Wow.
You gotta check that out.
Yeah. I mean, Oscar Isaac is a consummate actor. He's Poe in the sequels. And he's
Moon Knight, right?
Yeah, he's Moon Knight. Yeah. Mark Spector. Really, really cool. And Ethan Hawke plays in it too. He's like the antagonist. Very, very good.
Okay.
Is it alluding to the new Doctor Strange, like at all, or is it like completely
I suppose so. I mean, there's certain things, like I've seen YouTube videos where they tie in, they like, oh, well, this means that. And, if you see this object in the background, it means
it's kind of speculation more than like, hey,
right. At the moment, I believe. Yeah.
Because actually, I'm not that familiar with the Moonknight, Moonknight, series. And so it's nice to see that, Disney's digging deeper than before and trying to bring to light and make money off of these stories, right? I'm sure they're great, if they're part of the Marvel legacy, then there's a lot of bangers. I feel like most
Kevin
of the bangers,
Feige, though, like as a producer, he's blown it out of the water with all the Marvel stuff, pretty consistently.
Yeah, that's good.
I applaud them for doing something differently, like off the script and going with like a powered person superhero with mental health issues.
Yeah, it's really well done. Highly recommended.
There's just so much right now. I haven't been watching anything recent. I mean, I've been wanting to watch the Batman.
Watch something,
and I just haven't yet. My Laura and I, we've been watching a Band of Bros.
Oh yeah,
but it's that's been out for a while. But but that's finally we're watching.
Though,
oh god, very very heart wrenching and war and stuff. Yeah, but speaking of heart wrenching, it's something that also was talked about and sort of made aware to the public. Quite some time ago was this issue between Johnny Depp and Amber Heard, right? And now it's coming back to surface now that the trial, the hearing, right?
That was a defamation
lawsuit. Lawsuit. Thank you.
Is going through with.
And kind of just we're seeing some footage of the different days, and it's very
Elon Musk
very
lied
intense.
under oath.
Yeah, he did. Oh, I missed that.
Well, he said
during the trial or the.
Well, he said he didn't. He said he didn't meet up or like hook up with her, and there's like video footage of him like going into her house late at night.
Johnny Depp with Amber?
Elon Musk with Amber.
Elon Musk with Amber. Oh, yeah. Okay. With Amber.
Yeah, so.
Oh, okay.
So he lied about some crap.
Yeah, Elon's involved in this bizarre love triangle here.
This is
Puppet Elon.
Strange. Yeah.
They released this thing yesterday, and they were talking about like how Johnny was like, he went out of his way to go, and in no way, shape, or form will I ever be Jack Sparrow again.
Wow.
I will never come back to Disney.
Wow.
And it was like, ooh, ouch.
Why would he say that?
Because people have used this as like Disney owes him, because they kind of screwed him over in the process of this whole thing.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. How so? I'm not familiar with this.
Well, I mean, it's just when everything. That's what the defamation suit is about. Is because a lot of the accusations that she hurled at him were not true. So that's the whole point that he's trying to make, is that he lost his career.
That he lost work. Yeah. He lost. It impacted
with them anyway. With that company,
Yeah.
And then Disney kind of chose sides ahead of time. And
well, and this whole. Incident is just bringing up a lot of things for a lot of people, and brings up the very heavy subject of abuse, domestic abuse, whether emotional, physical, mixture of it all, so it's hard to see people that again, celebrities a lot of times like they're like great, larger than life, where we were talking about that with the Lakers. I mean, I guess celebrity-dom, I guess, in all ways, right? It's easy to see these people as like, hey,
otherwise known as fame, celebrity-dom, everybody.
Yeah, thank you. Hey, you know what? I forget the words. But yeah, and so seeing that, it's like, wow, everyone deals with it, and it's a challenge for all.
Yeah.
Yeah, it just lends credence to the fact that they're humans too. Another thing, like when people go, oh well, they're artists or they're celebrities. They shouldn't have an opinion on anything or chime in about anything.
Yeah. They'll be all right. They're rich.
Just dribble the ball.
Yeah.
Right. Exactly. Just sing your songs.
Yeah.
Just sing your song.
And yeah, I mean, that's a big thing because, I think that early on when the accusations were made, there was a lot of support on Amber Heard's side of events. And, I've also seen like on social media, people, oh man, and what they used to say, when a woman talks about, like abuse of any sort, you listen to them and, oh, can we trust them? It's like, yes, we have to really take all accusations seriously. And as much as possible, try to find facts, right? Try to find things that paint as definitive and objective a picture as possible, and sometimes it's harder than others, right? But here we do have, I mean, it's so the evidence that has been brought into sort of the hearings, right? The lawsuit has been very, very revealing. It's giving a lot of insight to the nature of the relationship. Yeah, truly. So it's really wild.
Yeah, it is.
I think the trial is like, definitely opening up that like insight for like society more around like, because you're famous doesn't mean you're not also going to be in a toxic relationship, and your relationship is also super scrutinized, and that's super challenging. And I think we're just like seeing this dynamic, that can show up in so many people's lives, but it becomes like normalized over time, and
sure.
I think that's the struggle, is like even like watching the trial and like having people be so like in awe about it, or like amazed by it, or oh my God, like hearing these allegations. It's like, this is happening in so many places, like around where you live, in your families, like in your neighborhoods. And how are you addressing and like being aware of like the ways we show up and the way we see people we love show up, and how can we challenge them in a loving way, and I think what sucks about this whole thing being super highlighted, I think, is just, having your relationship scrutinized in an even deeper way, like not just by the courts, but by us, public court. By everybody, by people. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Everyone's got opinions.
The public court equally as powerful, as the other court, pretty much. Yeah, it's wild.
And it just shows the complexity of it. It's like oftentimes people are like, he said, she said, and it's like really just getting into like the dynamic that's present. It's not so much the person, but it's the interaction, the dynamic. Yeah. And, this can show up in our lives too. It's hard to notice initially, those red flags, and it's,
or even, like having the ability to kind of show that, through, like audio recordings or whatever, things like that. I mean, because how many, and depending on what state you're in, and 2-party consent and so on and so forth, right? It can be a challenge to have like the really, undeniable evidence that says, hey, look, this what I'm saying, I'm not, over exaggerating this and that, and making it up. So yeah, really touchy. So hoping that, that the truth is what sort of reigns supreme at the end of it, and the appropriate consequences are administered, and that there's some sort of like not like resolve, right, a resolution, something that can bring closure to Johnny Depp, and Amber Heard too, and again that's very fair and just and equitable and all that. So I guess we'll keep on seeing, right? So
stay tuned.
Yeah, and speaking of like action in the courts, right? With DeSantis and Don't Say Gay, I believe, Don't Say Gay. I believe that it was passed, right? And so
unfortunately,
the legislature passed it, and he signed it into law yesterday.
Yeah, I thought that it was a real big win, for Floridians, and for, I don't know.
Yeah. It's
what?
Unfortunate. Yeah.
Yeah.
Big win.
It's interesting how people on the right.
DeSantis sees it.
Oh, I see.
Yeah. It's just interesting how people on the right are framing it as like a parent's right to choose what their kids are taught and all that, with CRT and this Don't Say Gay bill. Really, it's like they're trying to keep their kids ignorant and be like intolerant of people.
If I wanted anybody controlling what the kids learn in school, Florida fucking adults would be the last people on the list I would want.
If you want,
man,
you don't want Florida man being responsible for your understanding of 1+1.
If you want to control what your kids learn, homeschool them.
Yeah, but
please don't do that either.
Don't do it though. Don't do it.
What I will say is that, I mean, that option is there, and it's not a bad one, but it's one that is a big, investment of not only just making the decision to go for that, but then to actually execute it effectively and appropriately, to honor like, pedagogical practice, of all different sorts, right? But like all that requires time, to like really be like, hey, I'm going to provide as robust of an education as possible for my child or whoever's being homeschooled.
And it's pretty hard to compensate for like you're growing up with your peers in a classroom.
Yeah, it's hard to make up for that. I mean, that requires
social
additional
skills. Is like it's tough to you can't replicate that.
Yeah,
right. But what's most important too, and what's getting lost in all of this is that during the pandemic, when kids weren't in schools, there was a downward percentage in terms of how many incidences of child abuse were reported.
Yeah.
Because more often than not, it's teachers and
staff who see
it, pick up on these things. So add to that the fact that in Florida, it's probably not easy to be a non-straight kid, you know. So where do you turn when you can't turn to somebody at home?
Yeah.
You turn to your teacher, you turn to somebody and it's also disingenuous because they frame this like everybody's being taught sex ed in kindergarten. Like that's not how it's
learn about the birds
on.
and the bees and all the parts they have, you know, and you know, it's really just over. It's so exaggerative. I mean, it's hyperbole truly, because you know, I mean that's just there's. Trust me, teachers have a million better things that they have to do and that they'd rather do, and it's just not that, you know. So, and you know, again, thinking of like now we're having parents sort of be having this very direct involvement with like the curriculum decisions, and it's just like are you people like truly like what is like your qualifications for being able to like influence these decisions so greatly, you know, and whatever happened to
I see what you're saying.
Whatever happened to like acknowledging like the idea that there are, you know, standards and processes that people go through to be deemed like a professional in a certain industry or space, and why is that not like just valued?
Sure. I think like a lot of people don't trust at least the public school system, you know, and that's great like point. You know, problematic because that's why there's more private schools or like charter schools, and that's like really just impacting like how people are wanting to control what their kids learn more. But I think like kids should learn about what they want to learn about. Like they should have like that opportunity to like pick their classes. I mean, obviously there's some basic knowledge that is going to be really supportive that they may or may not gravitate towards on their own. And sometimes it's helpful to like support kids in that. But for me, like, I think more experiential learning is like where we're missing out in our education system.
And what I wanted to say to that is that, you know, I think that can exist in a public education, public school setting and system. And that I also agree that I think it's missing, it's lacking in a lot of education.
And now the Florida
private but yeah, so
Florida taxpayers are going to have to pay more for it now because basically the bill that we're talking about that was passed is revoking Disney's tax breaks. And
they're special
what it means is that Floridians are going to be on the hook for $1 billion, probably more, for bond measures that Disney otherwise would be paying for. And that's the ultimate irony is everything that the Republicans do, it's not even really conservative, like economically conservative. Really, you're screwing the taxpayers, you know, on top of being we don't want government involved in what our kids learn, but we're going to tell teachers what they can teach and not teach. And
hypocrites.
Like, and then don't we have PTAs? Like, isn't that what parent-teacher associations are for and what those meetings are for?
But it requires effort. It requires developing relationships.
What the students learn.
Yeah.
So what the hell is the deal? You know, and then other states are picking up these cues and they're going even further to it's like K through 12 schools in some of these states. Like what?
Yeah, it's really insane.
It's a culture war.
Right. And that's why like Disney is kind of paying a little bit of a price now because they may as well have come out very strongly against this law because what they did is they waited for it to pass. You know, a couple weeks ago when they passed Don't Say Gay, they waited for it to pass and then they came out and said, oh, we don't support this legislation. It was like too little too late.
Yeah.
You know, so where is the effort and where do you draw the line? Because it's great to have representation in your movies and your comics and your shows, but what does that mean if you're not going to stick up for actual LGBTQ employees and fans in these states?
Yeah, got to walk the walk too.
Right. And so, I mean, they may as well have come out really strongly to begin with because they were going to get screwed anyway. And we'll see how it goes because the legislature will change during the midterms and they might revoke this, but...
Yeah.
economically, it's a stupid thing that they passed.
Yeah. Yep.
You know, on top of don't say gay being stupid, you know, so it was fiscally liberal, unsound
and socially conservative as fuck.
Yeah.
Right. No one is benefiting.
No.
Well, you know who is benefiting is Ron DeSantis, because this is the perfect ploy that is allowing him to propose his redistricted congressional map for Florida.
So he's gerrymandering.
He's removing, getting deeper in the Jerry.
Right.
And
he's mandering that Jerry, man.
Yeah, he's mandering that Jerry like a mother, you know, and it's just so wild because, I mean, Florida will lose 2 congressional seats in very heavily populated Black, I believe, POC communities.
Yeah.
If not Black, you know, more specifically. But
past the congressional map, he's gearing for 24.
Yeah.
Once the midterms are done, we're going into the 2024 election, and DeSantis is poised on this, and that's why he's jumping on all this culture war crap. And that's why I'm glad that we have a governor who has been calling him out this entire time. Yeah. Gavin tweeted at him.
Gavin, man.
He tweeted him and goes, "Let me get this straight." At DeSantis is, "Let me get this straight," wink wink, about the gay legislation. He's like, you know, you're totally not fiscally conservative, and you're screwing your taxpayers. Like, you're
because
out of the loop, man.
Because I honestly, I was reading a little bit about it, but Disney supplies jobs for a big chunk of like Central Florida, if I'm not mistaken.
It's substantial,
I could imagine.
I mean, that property
Disney
is like
World,
25,000 acres. That property is crazy.
You said twice the size of Manhattan, or
shit.
Yep.
So that is really insane, you know, and so it's a real big battle over there within this realm, and I mean, it's nice to see Disney, I guess, get more involved. You know, again, too little, too late. Well, hey, they can make it up by just doing more now and keep on, you know, pushing forward. And, you know, I've been reading about how some teachers have even been, hey, well, you know what, if we can't talk about gender anything, you know, gender identity, orientation, this and that. Okay, well, I'm not going to read any stories involving mothers and fathers and you know, husbands and wives, because, you know, those are also, you know,
it's gender.
Talking about like, you're right, all that's included in the construct of gender and how it impacts our lives in a very real way, right? But so you can't talk about any of it. So everyone is being referred to as they, them, you know, and
that's equality.
Yeah, true. Yeah, exactly. You want to really honor the letter of the law, probably not the spirit according to DeSantis's spirit of the law, right? But that is, I think, a very truthful enactment of the letter and spirit of the law. So, you know, I mean, I think it just goes to hopefully that, I don't know, hopefully people see that this is not.
What's ultimately ironic is that pushes us closer to the fascist state that they claim that they fear.
Yeah.
You know?
Fuck.
Yeah. So, you know what, but, you know, talking about just the culture behind these things, right? I mean, I know, Gabby, when you came, when we talked about having you on, that you had a topic that you'd like to discuss that, you know, I'm really excited to hear you talk about.
Yeah.
And, would you like to tell us a little bit about it? What you're going to share with us?
Yeah. So I was going to talk a little bit about diet culture and just like the impact that it has on our mental health. And I'm somebody who studied somatic counseling and dance movement therapy. And so I tend to look at everything through the lens of that in a lot of ways, through connecting to the body, through what's happening in our nervous system, what's happening, how our experiences have like lived in our bodies in different ways, and how that informs who we are sometimes. And how just like the media can really impact that. And so I'm really, you know, excited to explore that with you guys, and what you guys have noticed, maybe the impacts you have felt in terms of, you know, you guys identify as like men, you know, and like maybe like the impact that has on you guys. Cause I think oftentimes it is geared towards looking at just people who identify as women, but it's something that affects everybody. And so,
I would agree for sure. Like in my women's sports and society class, we talked about it, and we talked about like how it actually does affect men a lot, and like that they don't really get the publicity of it. That it's an affecting thing towards them as well. Or
like the consideration, maybe similar to like with domestic abuse, right? Oh no, it's something that really. Oh no, when it happens to you know a woman, female identifying person. Okay. Now it's a serious thing, but for men, you know, male identifying. Oh, okay, now you're good. Toughen up, right?
Right.
Yeah. You know, it's funny.
It can be the stigma for sure.
Yeah. When Joaquin shared with us what the topic, I was like, how has the diet, been a part of my life? And I was thinking, eating is a necessity of life, right? So the relationship everyone has with it is, something that perhaps is easily overlooked. I think for me, I can definitely not think about it, forget about it. And I just kind of am doing whatever, not being mindful of like conscious or long-term impact, this and that. But yeah, it's something for everyone. And I will share, on my, for me, I love eating food but definitely my relationship with it is one that there's room for growth and improvement and, management in ways that I feel like would benefit the way I want to live my life. And so, yeah, it's been a big journey for me, in many different ways. And yeah, I'm sure for all of us too. But yeah, I think about what influenced my idea of it. And it was, I think, coming from like a Mexican, I guess, just my family, which they come from Mexico. My grandmother would always, instill the idea of like finish what's on your plate, and which is I think a very important.
I definitely hear that one a lot. But also, in my work.
Our food isn't the healthiest.
Well, and a way that I know my grandmother and a lot of the women in my family share their love is by acts of service and making a meal. And so, hey, look at this tasty ass meal, and look, have as much as you want. Yeah. And so, but then maybe combining that with, hey, finish your plate. It can. I know for me that's been something that was a part of my life, and it kind of helped create sort of my relationship with it. And I love food, and I'm grateful for that abundance in my life. But yeah, finding a way to manage it and kind of like just eat enough. Just balancing from enjoying it and like eating just to kind of sustain myself and find that balance. Yeah, tricky.
Sure.
Yeah. And going back to like that body-based perspective that like I come from, I think like naming how a lot of, connecting and challenging like diet culture is like connecting to your intuition, connecting to like your sensations more, your hunger, your fullness cues. And like oftentimes we don't go off of what we feel, we go off of like maybe how others respond to us or react to us, or go off of like how we look in some ways. And even that is like loaded in a lot of ways in terms of like what we think is beautiful, what we think is attractive, what we think is desirable. And
it's all perspective.
It can be really exhausting to
and
work
take us away
that.
from what we're feeling.
Yeah.
Wow. So how do we create that awareness? What are good practices that I think you said a couple, like noticing hunger cues, just being sensitive to your body,
be
right?
present.
Yeah. I think like in terms of like therapeutic perspective, like kind of being aware of like what are your beliefs around body, what are your beliefs around your body, what have you like, how do you accept your body or not, or what is challenging to accept about it, and like where did you get those messages, and how can we challenge that, and really, because that's a big part of the work, and it's so challenging because it's really embedded into our society in so many different ways. Even like I heard you say like, oh yeah, picking healthy food, I believe all foods fit, like what is healthy food? That's subjective in a lot of ways, and like it's about changing your relationship to it. In
the Super Size Me documentary, what's his name? Morgan
Freeman?
No, Morgan Spurlock, I think was his name. But he goes to this one guy and he's like, for like 20 years, all I did was eat 2 Big Macs a day.
Oh yeah.
And he's like this tall, skinny scribe, but that's all he ate was 2 Big Macs a day. So it was like he was minding his caloric intake. So I think that's another part of it, is the awareness is we don't really
be some vitamin deficiency.
We don't really teach.
Yeah, but you could still like get it from somewhere else.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure there was something else in there, but the point that I was trying to make is that like, if you're, people do Weight Watchers. It's like Weight Watchers is just calorie counting simplified, So at some point you go, we're just, as a society, as Americans, we're not really taught anything about our bodies, really.
Right.
Yeah.
We're so prudish. We don't learn anything about sex ed. We don't learn about how your body works. How the fuck does your body process food?
Nutrition.
What does a cue look like or feel like?
Exactly.
Right?
So
talking about those experiential commonalities and
we miss that foundational learning a lot of the times, or we take it for granted and we don't think about it. So that is kind of where we're already based and like building a foundation on a rocky footing,
Right.
Wow.
These things are learned like familially, culturally, societally, and so it's like, this conversation of like, taking like in the Matrix, the blue pill versus the red pill.
Right,
like when
yeah.
you become aware of like how these messages are so subtly like weaved into like the culture and the way that we think. And I would say it comes a lot from like colonization and white supremacy in a lot of ways. This idea of like having a Eurocentric, cisgendered, able-bodied view of like that's the norm, and that's
what health is, right?
Yeah, and like that's what health really comes from.
Such a deep rabbit hole.
You know, in like some Native American cultures, folks would eat like when they felt hungry. You know, and just like how even our diet over time has been impacted by, and like when we eat, by the industrial revolution and like agriculture and like you know, like I'm supposed to eat at this time and I'm supposed to eat at this time, and like that can really help regulate people at sometimes, but it's built around that capitalism because people have to work and people have to
like milk, you know, or dairy, you know, kind of generate the the conversation about how a breakfast should be. You know?
Exactly. The knowing of things of like, hey, who's behind creating like the food pyramid? It's all like the meat dairy industry. Like, so of course they're gonna incorporate their shit in there. I mean, of course. So it's just kind of like wild to think. Yeah, like for example, it was a documentary I was watching. I forget which one, unfortunately. It was one on Netflix. But like, hey, who are some of the backers behind like the American Heart Association, American Diabetes Association? Right. It's like these dairy, meat, you know, like food production companies. It's so wild.
Right.
So it's all over the place, like what you said, Gabby. Yeah.
Dirty money.
Yeah, and I think it's complicated in the sense that these foods shouldn't be ostracized, right? Like those are things that our ancestors ate, you know, like from different types of animals, goat's milk. Like, you know, we have relationships with those foods, like cheese and bread. Like it's been a big part of like being human.
Being Italian, I don't think we ever ate a meal that wasn't pasta.
It's become monopolized. It's become monopolized, and it's something that you know.
Monopolize.
And
then just I would say like saturated right in our psyche to just consume because then you're buying more of and making more money for them, right? And
so how do we square that away? Because I was looking at I can't remember what organization put it out. It might have been Kaiser or something like that, but they were saying that it was 31% of Americans are what is deemed overweight, and another 30% are deemed obese.
Wow.
Which means
separate from being overweight. Wow.
I prefer not to use the word like obese personally, like working with, I specialize in working with people struggling with eating disorders. And so we tend to not like follow, we use the medical model, but we don't take the whole piece of pie, if that makes sense.
What would be your suggested,
I think overweight or just like out of range of ideal body weight, which looks different for everybody. And like, I think I want to bring up that idea that there can be health at every size, you know? And so I think when we say the word obese, sometimes it can negate that idea. When we look at a certain body, we think, that person's
when we look
unhealthy.
at the way that we look versus the other, places in the world though, because Japanese people in their culture, they have their own set of ways, and then we have American culture, and then European culture is very different from ours. American culture is very indulgent by comparison to a lot of other cultures.
Very uniquely indulgent, I feel.
Right.
Big portions.
So
very uniquely indulgent,
that's where I was just getting at. Is just like, where does that lie on the spectrum in terms of it being not uniquely American, but because of where we're at and how we're exposed to this cross-section of just everything here versus a lot of other places in the world. They don't have access to the other foods that we do. You know what I mean? I don't know. I just, it was something that I thought was interesting.
Yeah. Definitely having like variety is going to be really important. I think that's going back to like the milk and bread and cheese and egg, dairy, all of that. Like that's something that's really important, I think, for your diet for sure. And not everyone has access to grocery stores. There's food deserts. Not everyone has access to vegetables. And yet at the same time, like, we live in California, people here are being exploited who are providing those vegetables. It's not honored in a lot of ways, like the food that is brought to us and grown for us.
The inner cities are food deserts.
It's reflected in the way that, kind of what you were naming, Jesse, like just like around how like then society, a lot of people aren't actually getting access to those things that they should be getting access to that can really help them connect to like their health, and their wellness, whatever that looks like,
Right.
Yeah. But, and I like how you say that, whatever it looks like, because it really is honoring the individuality in each of us and that, so the things we do will be tailored to us. But it does require work. It requires a willingness, right, to be vulnerable and to reflect and
start a community garden.
Yeah, right. I mean, and it's nice that I know there's a lot of community gardens all throughout LA.
Once upon a time, we had a first lady that wanted to get people back into gardening, and she was ridiculed for it. Like, what? Yeah. And what would be more like cool and like country and like American than growing your own food in your backyard, dude?
And
like,
and not having like fatty, like very based on how often they serve it, right? Very likely unhealthy, food choices, right? At like schools and
more choices.
So yeah.
Nothing wrong with fat. It's good for you.
Right.
And like the word fat too, I think it also has become like something that's been like, oh, you don't like, we talked about don't say gay. People are like, don't say fat.
Say fat.
There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with saying fat, and there's nothing wrong with being fat. And I think that's something that's, part of that diet culture that really has like taught us like this isn't okay. And like it has some like we even compare it to like societally like morality. Like if people,
someone that's fat,
even you guys naming like folks who are like overindulgent, right now with like how like they're not like eating certain things and like it's their fault, or it's like like kind of just like this like ostracizing and like naming of like fatness as something that's like just demonized because like going back to like what we have decided is what's like acceptable for bodies to be in. Like even across cultures, across families, bodies look different across generations,
Right. It's overemphasizing the appearance over what's actually good for you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, man, it's really nice to be able to like, really reflect on all the different facets, and angles to this discussion, and because again, like what you've been saying, Gabby, it's we're being barraged by these different experiences and messaging and right all throughout all the areas of our life, and so to be able to kind of highlight some of the interconnectivity between it all, I'm really grateful for that. And, we all, it's, everyone's got to eat, right? Everyone's got to eat. So
food is life.
Yeah. And I think that the awareness that it sort of encourages is really important. And it helps us be present. I know that's a big one for you, Joaquin, talking about being present in all things. And I agree. I think that, it's important for all of us to live now. Tomorrow isn't promised, but if we make the most of today, I think that, it really sets us up for even the future, even without us thinking about it. Right. So, being true to ourselves, listening to our bodies.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful sentiment. It's
deep.
Really grateful. And Gabby, it was awesome having you as our first guest. I mean,
again, I'm honored. I know.
You're family, and you're like
thanks,
just such a lovely, intelligent person, and we are going to do this again. And
great insight.
And we're glad that we did it for number 15.
Yes.
Friends, thank you all for joining us. We will be back with more of everything because that's the social media game nowadays. So. Thank you all for supporting us, and have a good one. We'll see you very soon.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Okay.
Cool.
Dope.